Good afternoon, Matadors. I'm Kelsey Ducklow.
And I'm Ken Harvey.
Michael Brown's family is calling for police transparency after a grand jury decided not to indict the police officer who shot their son. Brown family attorney Benjamin Crump says the grand jury proceedings were completely unfair.
We want the proposal for the Michael Brown law, that is the proposal that every police officer in every American city has a video body camera. So it would be transparent. And we won't have to play this game of witnesses' memories and secret grand jury proceedings. It'll just be transparent.
The grand jury decided not to charge Officer Darren Wilson after meeting 25 days over 3 months and hearing over 70 hours of testimony. Evidence from 3 autopsies were presented along with toxicology and weapons reports. St. Louis prosecuting attorney Robert McCullough said the jury made their decision after finding that much of the testimony was unreliable and contradicted the scientific reports. Critics of McCullough say he presented a weak case against Wilson and did not present the proper evidence to indict. Protests quickly erupted across the country following the announcement of the grand jury's decision.
And Kelsey, they're continuing today. The LAPD has issued a tactical alert in anticipation of more protests this afternoon. Some parts of the city of Ferguson are nothing more than smoldering ashes after last night's destructive and violent demonstrations. Many business owners woke up to find their properties leveled. Social media sites flooded with images including looting of a Ferguson liquor store, video of cars and police vehicles on fire, and photos at looting of Walgreens and McDonald's. In St. Louis, hundreds of protesters blocked Interstate 44 for more than an hour. The Ferguson Fire Department said it fought 25 structure fires overnight efforts to extinguish those fires were hampered by gunfire in the area. Police in Ferguson arrested 61 people in St. Louis and arrested 21 people in St. Louis County. Police faced off with protesters using gas masks, tear gas, assault-style rifles, and shotguns with non-lethal rounds. Protests occurred in many cities across the country, including New York, Seattle, Denver, and Los Angeles. In West Adams and downtown Los Angeles, protesters stopped traffic on the 10 and 110 freeways.
Let's toss it over to the newsroom where Matador news reporter Dayanis Lopez has local reactions from CSUN.
The Ferguson case has brought CSUN staff and students concerned about police enforcement among minorities. Freshman student Emilio Gonzalez says it's unlawful that authorities practice unjustified homicides.
I definitely believe like most police officers, they're just doing their job. But I also believe that some of them believe that they have this power of authority over most people. They don't really have a right as much as of that, and especially for them to without giving you the benefit of the doubt, and then them also getting off with no consequences at all. That's really unfair.
Political science professor Boris Rix says racial profiling is problematic and a violation of the Constitution, which can lead to police brutality and excessive force.
There is a portion of society who feels that this is a tactic that police can use to better serve the communities in which they are charged to protect and serve. One of the first things we need to understand is that the grand jury verdict, I believe, in Ferguson, not having read the transcript or anything, was a miscarriage of justice. Number one, Michael Brown was unarmed. And number two, there could possibly have been a way to restrain him without shooting him 12 times. So all that being said, this is a problem. This is very problematic with regard to police work. This is very problematic to how minorities see themselves when they're policed by police officers.
Meanwhile, protests are continuing in different parts of the country. Now, back to you in the studio.
The Obama administration is searching for its 4th defense secretary in 6 years. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel has resigned but will remain in the position until a replacement is appointed. In an announcement at the White House yesterday, President Obama said it was an appropriate time for Hagel to complete his service. The president recognized his commitment to members of the armed forces as the first enlisted combat veteran to serve in that position.
He understands our men and women like few others because he stood where they stood. He's been in the dirt and he's been in the mud. and that's established a special bond. He sees himself in them, and they see themselves in him. And their safety, their lives have always been at the center of Chuck's service.
At the beginning of Hagel's term 2 years ago, the Defense Department's focus was on ending ground wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. The administration is currently divided over its approach to issues with the Islamic State militants and civil war in Syria.
Thousands of protesters in Hong Kong are resisting police attempts to clear a 2-month-old protest camp. Police officers gathered early Tuesday enforcing a court injunction demanding demonstrators stop blocking Argyle Street in the Mong Kok neighborhood. The crowd faced off against officers who carried batons and pepper spray. Demonstrators passed umbrellas, helmets, surgical masks, and bottles of water. Officials say more than 80 people have been arrested for unlawful assembly, assaulting officers, obstruction, and criminal contempt of court. Student protesters remain at the site and continue to stand off against police.
Virginia's Attorney General has appointed an independent counsel to the University Board of Visitors to deal with issues of sexual violence. Mark Herring's decision came after an article was published in Rolling Stone magazine describing a student's account of being gang raped at a frat party 2 years ago. The university has also suspended all fraternities and associated parties until January 9th. UVA's president of Interfraternity Council, Tommy Reed, says more has to be done than just the temporary ban in order to fix this issue.
The suspension in itself gives us the time to develop the solutions. It is not the solution.
The university has also called for an independent investigation into its policies on sexual assault.
The tuition hikes in the UC system have led to massive campus walkouts throughout the state. At UC Berkeley, hundreds of students have occupied the campus's Wheeler Hall since a committee of UC Board of Regents voted last week to raise tuition 25% in the next 5 years. The proposed tuition hikes would affect only students from outside the state and those from California whose household income is more than $150,000.
Let's toss it over to Brianna Ruffalo, who has more on Black Friday and other news in her business report.
Thank you, Ken. The U.S. economy has seen its strongest 6 months in more than a decade. It grew at a 3.9% annual rate in the July through September period. The third quarter growth was more than expected because of greater consumer and business spending. But analysts believe it could slow down to 2.5% in the current quarter and will accelerate again in 2015. Get ready to bulk up your bags with bargains. Black Friday is right around the corner, and one CSUN student says she works at a mall on Black Friday.
Because we are a small mall, we only get about probably like $3,000 a day, and Black Friday is usually like $10,000 per day.
And you might want to skip the turkey if you're looking for the best deals. Associated Press says there are more deals and bigger savings on Thanksgiving Day for specific items in stores and on the web. Kmart is having a 42-hour marathon starting Thanksgiving Day at 6 in the morning, and Radio Shack will also be opening that morning at 8. Walmart is offering holiday sales this entire week. Now let's go to Randi Friess in the newsroom with tips for the largest shopping weekend of the year.
For any CSUN students getting ready for the biggest shopping days of the year, there are a few things you should know. In order to maximize your profit, it is important to have a strategy. The best deals in electronics can be found at retail stores opening on Thanksgiving and Black Friday. But if you're looking for the cheapest prices on toys, clothes, and shoes, Cyber Monday may be worth the wait. Experts say that if you can only choose one day, then Thanksgiving will give you the best deals. But items like iPhones and clothing are better on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Let's toss it to Sharell Huey with the latest in health.
Just in time for Thanksgiving, a Boston man gives thanks today for a double arm transplant from an anonymous donor. Will Lotzenheise is a comic and former film teacher who now can move his thumbs and wrist again.
The person who's anonymous to me will always be as close to me as my own skin now.
Lotzenheise lost both arms and legs after an aggressive Streptococcus A infection led to sepsis that required quadruple amputation in 2011. It took a team of 35 clinicians, including 13 surgeons, to complete the double arm transplant that lasted close to 9 hours. The surgical team says they expect the function of Lotzenheise's limbs to continue to improve over the course of the next several years and nerves regrow. Lotzenheise says he may think about leg transplants in the future, but for now, his focus is on rehabilitating his arms. The FDA is requiring chain restaurants, movie theaters, and pizza parlors across the country to post calorie counts on their menus. The FDA is hoping that the new policy will lower obesity rates by showing Americans exactly how much they are consuming. The rules are far broader than consumer health advocates expected. They are covering food in vending machines, amusement parks, and certain prepared foods in supermarkets. The most surprising element of this new rule is the inclusion of alcoholic beverages. Alcohol beverages served at a seating table in a food establishment will be required to show calories on the menu. Mixed drinks served at the bar, however, are excluded from the rule. The FDA's new regulation will begin late next year. Now let's toss it back to Brianna for entertainment news.
Bill Cosby's philanthropic work over the years is possibly being overshadowed by the rising number of allegations made by women accusing him of sexual assault. Over the years, Bill and wife Camille have donated millions to colleges and scholarship funds around the country. A North Carolina school, High Point University, removed the 77-year-old entertainer from its National Board of Advisors. The Berklee College of Music said in a statement that it's no longer awarding an online scholarship in Cosby's name. Sony Pictures Entertainment is still investigating a hack to its computer systems from coast to coast. When the Culver City Sony staff went to log into their computers yesterday, an image of a red skeleton appeared on the screen under the words "hacked by GOP," along with a list of threats. The hackers warned Sony with blackmail, threatening to leak secrets they have to the web. So far, no information has been leaked, and experts are unsure who the group of hackers is. The Hunger Games Catching Fire Part 1 burns bright at the box office this weekend, opening with $121.9 million. It topped the record debut of Transformers: Age of Extinction to make the Hunger Games sequel the biggest opening of the year. Coming in second is Disney's Big Hero 6 with $20.1 million in its third week, while Paramount's Interstellar launched into third place with $15.3 million. Rounding out the weekend's top 5 is Universal's Dumb and Dumber with $14 million and 20th Century Fox's Gone Girl with $2.8 million in its 8th week. Now back to Sharell to finish up with sports.
Commissioner Roger Goodell and Players Union Chief DeMaurice Smith will meet today to discuss the league's personal conduct policy. The NFL Players Association has been unhappy with the NFL policy since its labor negotiations to end the lockout back in 2011. The union also doesn't like how Goodell increased the minimum penalty for violation of the policy to 6 games following the Reyes case. Smith says the NFL is clearly making things up as they go along, and it needs a new personal conduct policy that is fair, transparent, and consistent. The players and Smith are seeking neutral arbitration for all personal conduct disciplinary decisions. They also say Goodell should not be involved in this process. For those of you traveling Thanksgiving weekend, Ken has the latest news in travel and weather.
While people across the country may be thankful for their Thanksgiving meals, travelers may not be grateful for the travel delays and weather conditions this week. Tomorrow is one of the busiest days for travel in the United States as Americans prepare to take to the roads, rails, and skies. A messy winter storm threatens to snarl flights in the Northeast just as travel reaches its peak. 70 flights have already been canceled, but New York's 3 airports in Philadelphia expect hundreds of delays and dozens of cancellations. Several inches of snow may accumulate along the I-95 corridor. Snowfall rates could reach 2 inches per hour, especially in areas away from the warm coast. But Los Angeles traffic experts say Los Angeles will be the worst place for traffic in the entire country. Driving trips are predicted to take at least 36% longer than usual in the metropolitan area.
Thank you for watching Matador News. I'm Kelsey Ducklow.
And I'm Ken Harvey. Have a great Thanksgiving weekend, Matadors.